Welcome to 2026. We are three friends that have come together, myself, Courtney, Britt, and Renee, and we are focusing on setting goals and your resolutions for January, and a lot of people have already failed.
Yeah, it's January 14th, and I feel like most people probably are either struggling to keep up or have already given up on it.
So let's reframe failure a little bit, though. Like, I feel like we get a negative connotation around failing, and failing doesn't have to be this be all end all that it's you failed once and now you're done and now you don't have to do it anymore and now you have a free pass to eat shit and do nothing good the rest of the year. It just means that it's okay. Like, let's have a fresh start. I think what you're saying, Cord, is that it doesn't have to be January 1st that it starts, right?
Yep, I don't want to fail, so I just start right now.
Yeah,
I pick one thing to make a change on and work on that over the whole course of the future instead of giving it to start and end date. I just start.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of power behind, the start of the new year, it's a natural break in the schedule. It's not, you're switching from one year to the next year. And so it feels like a really easy way to, okay, this is when I'm going to do all of these things. But when I have been talking to people the last couple of weeks about their New Year's resolutions, a lot of people are saying, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. Mm-hmm. And like, nobody can do all of those things successfully and change your entire life in the blink of an eye. Like, it is, I mean, if you can, kudos to you, give us your superpower, because I think that is incredibly difficult. So let's have a conversation on how do we reframe that mentality and actually set ourselves up for success.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is the key. Is everybody wants to, I mean, I'm included in this. At the end of the year, I'm like, oh my gosh, I ate too much. I haven't been to the gym in a while. This year was good, but next year's going to be better. And so you want to hit the ground in January and you're like, I am going to be the best mom ever. And I'm going to double my business and I'm going to start eating clean and I'm going to get back to the gym and I'm going to have ripped abs and I'm going to walk my dogs every single day and on and on and on, because you want to, you feel motivated in that one moment to do it. But the problem is that motivation does not show up every single day when you put your feet on the floor. So I think a better strategy is to pick one thing. And if you have multiple things you want to change within a year, that's fine. But you can't chunk them all down to one day, one time, all at the same time. But I read a book once that talked about, thinking about that you set these big goals and you want to hit them by the end of the year and you get to December and December becomes hell because you're scraping so hard to hit those goals. And in my business, in mortgage, that makes November hell because you got to close them by December. So that means you're scrambling in November to hit your goals in December. But what if you were to break it down into 4 years? So you have 3 months and now you have that hardcore month that you hit 4 times a year and you increase your productivity by
quarters.
4 times. In the 4 different quarters.
Yeah.
Or you can do that even on a monthly basis, set a monthly goal. I think it's a little bit harder to do that depending on what your goals are. But for me, when I write my business plan every year, I have all these things I'm going to add, and this is my daily, weekly, monthly, all of that stuff. But then I go down and I say, okay, my focus in January is, my focus in February is, my focus in March is. And that way, if, my YouTube channel isn't up and running and I haven't changed 47 other things, that's okay, because I'm only have one thing that I've chosen for this month that I gave myself a deadline on.
Something that I really like about that too is I know that living in Montana, there are certain times of the year where my energy and motivation is going to be significantly lower because it's not bright and sunny, for many hours of the day. We spend a lot of time in darkness. And so being really highly motivated to get outside and to do the exercises and to, whatever it is during that time can be a lot harder. So I think being able to, whether you do it quarterly or monthly or seasonally, whatever works for your brain, that helps me a lot, because I was listening, I don't remember if it was a podcast or something on TikTok or whatever, but there was a girl that was talking about how she doesn't believe in New Year's resolutions, but she does her New Year's resolutions in May when it's the turn of the season and summertime is, coming, and she does it then because that's when she is really highly motivated and has just found that that's a lot more successful for her.
And I like January because it feels like rebirth to me, with the days getting a little bit longer every day. And if I was to make a whole bunch of changes in May, I would be drinking from a fire hose and it would just immediately fail.
Yeah.
So it's that progression.
Yeah, and I think it's individualized for everybody. If January works for you, great. If it doesn't, then give yourself permission to not do it in January, but find the time when you are feeling the most motivated, or maybe what is your downtime in your profession or in your life or whatever that looks like. Not that we expect that there probably really is a downtime, because there probably isn't. But maybe what feels the slowest with your kids' sports or whatever that looks like. And I think on that note, one of the things we need to realize is that we can't just constantly add. There's only so many hours in the day. And sure, could I get a little bit more efficient? Absolutely, I could get more efficient. So that's something I can work on. But for the most part, what I need to not worry about is adding more things. I have to figure out how to subtract things in order to add things. So I was listening to a podcast the other day, and one of the things they were talking about is you need to pretend, because it's not pretend, that you have an actual capacity, and that's it. Like, you cannot add any more things to your plate. You only have this many things. And to be honest, that is real life. But you have to realize you have to take something else out before you can add anything new. And that's been where my focus is, because I flat can't add more things this year. And even when it's things that people have reached out to me that really, really want to do, I just know that I will be frustrated with myself for taking it on because I don't have the time to give it what I want.
I think that some of the things that you can delete too are almost things that you feel like you have to do or have to have, but in reality, you don't. Like, I wrote down overcommitting to things you resent, goals rooted in comparison, habits disguised as quote unquote self-care that actually numb you, like doom scrolling, and relationships or expectations that drain you. And so it's not necessarily that you need to delete, a goal or delete something like that, but we only have so much bandwidth and so much capacity available to us. And so if so much of your energy is being sucked by a relationship or by a bad habit or by doom scrolling, if by getting rid of that one thing, you all of a sudden create all of this opportunity to, dive into this new goal that you've set, then it's almost like you are actually meeting two goals, but it's kind of a little brain hack.
Well, and that's some really good foreshadowing into our next episode as well. So stay tuned on that. We are going to talk about outgrowing relationships and what that kind of looks like. So that'll be our next episode. But you're totally right. I guess that's the first place to start. What's the thing that you need to quit? And it might be something little, or it might be something big. It might be a relationship. It might be a job. This podcast I was listening to, his analogy was, if your life was a movie and the audience was watching it, what would they be screaming at the screen? Is it leave the relationship? Is it quit the job? Is it the murderer's in the closet? Like, what is it? There might be something glaring that everybody else can see but you. So,
and I do think that a lot of times it's a truth that you already know deep down, but you just haven't acted on yet.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like, being able to really get honest with yourself and figure out what did not work at all last year. What do you think is productive that really isn't productive for you? So it might be as simple. Last year I was like, I need to take all games off my phone. I like super hard puzzle games and crazy Sudoku and 4-suit spider solitaire and weird things that like keep my brain really occupied, because my brain runs a lot. But those things can keep my brain occupied for hours. And is that the best use of my time? No. But does it also mean that I have to have every single second of every single day be with productive activities? Also, no. That isn't right either. One of my goals last year was the previous year's goal was to read 52 books in a year, which I beat it. And then last year I was like, nah, I'm not doing that again, because I don't even remember what I read in half of them. My goal was read more things for fun and not putting a limit on it, and giving my brain that time to just enjoy.
I got rid of the games on my phone too, and I have one that I get to play on an airplane or somewhere where you're just not wanting to do anything else. I added masterclass in, and because one of my things that I love to do is cook, and I really want that elevated cooking. I want to know how to layer spices or learn some new technique, and then Spanish. So instead of playing the games, now I just go to that.
Who's your master class with?
You can pick a whole bunch of different ones. So I have everything in there from AI to cooking to investing, all kinds of things.
Fun. I love that.
Is that like a YouTube video that you're watching type of a thing, or
It's an
it's
app called
lessons?
Masterclass,
Mhm.
and you can go in and put what types of topics that you're interested in, and then it gives you a whole series of people, everybody from Kim Kardashian to Martha Stewart to some chef you've never heard of in Italy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's so fun. I've been getting ads for it, and I wasn't really sure what it looked like, so I'm glad we're talking about it.
Oh, I guarantee you I'll get those ads now.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah. I'll show you on my phone because it's on my phone.
Fun.
So I think one of the things that we probably should have started with here is don't beat yourself up if you've already failed on your goal. I think the key is to stop stressing and regretting the things that have happened in the past. I think for a lot of us, we all have something that we wish we'd done different, whether it was last year or way in the past. So sometimes I think being able to move forward starts with being able to let go of what didn't work last year. And it's okay to acknowledge it and then just let it be in the past and truly, truly start to move forward. And then look at what, if we're having this conversation 1 year from today, what is the one thing you would need to accomplish in your year that would make it feel successful? One
And
thing.
Don't forget to celebrate the win.
Absolutely.
If you got up 5 minutes earlier,
Yeah.
celebrate it.
Yeah. Well,
And-
and something that, like, on the opposite end of the spectrum, acknowledge what hasn't gone well, forgive yourself for it. But then I also think stop freaking kidding yourself that happiness is on the other side of some goal or something.
Yeah.
Like, I think that all of us have thought that when we got the house or we got the job or we got the car or we got the boyfriend, or, when we thought when we got the thing, when we hit the certain income amount, that all of a sudden we're just we've made it. That's where happiness lies. And turns out that when you do the thing, you don't just have this aha moment where you've made it. All of a sudden it's on to the next thing and on to the next goal. And so definitely, like, make sure that you can kind of take a step back and think about, it's not a list or a highlight reel or a personality overhaul. Like, how do you want to live day by day to make sure that all of it matters? Like, what's the point of all of it if all we're doing is setting these big goals and we don't know why?
You're designing the life that you want.
Yeah, that's very well said. And realistically, in our brains, that dopamine hit we're looking for comes before we accomplish the big goal, when we're almost there. Once you hit the goal or get the lake house or get married or whatever it is, or even, like, here's a perfect example. Everybody gets excited for the holidays and there's all this buildup, and then Christmas comes and then it's kind of a letdown afterwards, right? It's done. And now what do you have to look forward to? And I think sometimes that is a hard thing. And you thought everything was just going to be great after that, and it doesn't always come to fruition. So go back to that and figure out how much is enough. My friend Krista, who also, a little foreshadowing, we've got her coming on in a couple of weeks as a special guest, so we'll tell you more about that later. And by the way, like this episode, please subscribe to us. We've got some really good stuff coming up this year. We've got lots of guests on the horizon. Super excited to shake this up, and it will be really consistent weekly. So please share it. Please subscribe. But yeah, I think it's important to really think about what your why is, as you said. And I know that's been said a million times, but how much is enough is what Krista has said to me in the past. Like, when I've said huge goals, like, I'm going to make $1 million this year, she's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. It's a cool number. Like, why wouldn't I want to do that? But realistically, the answer is why. Are you going to kill yourself to try to get this goal, and then it's not actually going to feel the way that you thought it was going to feel?
And if you're thinking of the thing like the lake house, make sure it is what you want.
Yeah.
I always wanted a lake house too, and I put an offer in on one. You remember this.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband was like, I don't want that. And then I started really thinking about it and how much work it would have been to have that particular property.
Well, that is a really good point. Like, lake house has been on our plan forever, but we also have this. We camp at the lake. We have
You're
a spot
there every
that we
weekend.
go. We go every weekend, and there's no projects, and it's easy, and it's set up, and that's the stage of our life that we want to be, and where it is actually about fun. If we had a lake house, it would be projects every weekend. I know it would be, and So you're right. And millions of dollars. So is it worth, am I going to go spend millions of dollars to buy a project? Probably someday. Yeah, I am, because they call that an unteachable lesson, right? Like, I'm not going to believe it's not the thing I actually want until I buy the thing. And I'm like, oh, and maybe it is what I want. Maybe it's not. But yeah, I think, again, the unteachable lesson, there isn't anybody that can tell me you don't actually want a lake house, Renee.
I love it. I'm
You
here
like
for
the
it.
idea of it
Yeah.
without the work.
You can be the one to prove us all wrong where you're like, no, I really just needed a lake house all along. I think that something that I've really been leaning into is reframing my perspective on where my goals are coming from. And one of the questions that my therapist asked me was, how do you want to feel on a random Tuesday? You know, like if on any random Tuesday I were to meet with my therapist and tell her like genuinely how I'm feeling, what I'm looking forward to, what's going well, what's not going well, that is what defines how my year is going to look.
And that's what I mean by design the life you want.
Exactly. And so I think when you're setting goals, you know, think about, you can boil it down to a random Tuesday or to what do you want your January to look and feel like? And really make it a little bit more realistic, because the only way for us to meet these goals is to step into the future version of ourselves that has already met the goal. And
Yep,
what
try
is
that
that
costume on.
person doing? What are they wearing? What does their morning routine look like? What does their workout schedule look like? But look at that future version of yourself and, you know, pick one thing and start doing that one thing and see how you feel the next Tuesday. And then maybe pick another thing and do that one thing for the week and see how you feel the next Tuesday.
Well, and I think your point is brilliant, because sometimes what we really want is little gentler goals. It's not, I think that everybody gets wrapped up in like, well, this person set this huge goal, so I got to do this, and my company wants me to do this, and my husband wants me to do this, and my kids, and I got to, lead by example. But do you? I mean, yeah, maybe, but I'm a big fan. You're never going to talk me out of making big goals, but I do think sometimes it's about the littler goals. It's about making time for movement during the day, or being present with your kids, or some little things. And I think sometimes we have to ask ourselves the question, are you already doing enough? Because I really think a lot of us are overachievers in general, and it feels like we want to just do more and more and more, be better, better, better. And again, you're not going to talk me out of doing that, but I think you do have to give yourself some grace and go, hey, I did pretty damn good last year, or last month, or this morning, or hey, I got up early once this week, or hey, I didn't go to Taco John's this week, or whatever it is. Like, I agree. Celebrate the little wins.
I think what that's making me think about is just the word alignment. I'm also a very big goal maker. I really believe in like shooting for the stars, and that really motivates and drives me. But I know that for a lot of people, it doesn't. It can actually be demotivating. And so I think what's most important is making sure that when you are, like doing a self-assessment of how you're feeling and how you want to be feeling, and when you're setting goals, really think about what feels aligned and what feels forced. And sometimes, obviously, some goals can be forced because of your career. Maybe somebody else is setting the goals for you. And so, that's something that's kind of out of your control. But when you're setting goals for yourself, a good example is just, you can set the goal of, I'm going to work out for an hour, 5 days a week. And that might feel really forced and uncomfortable and not actually doable. And it's a lot of goals like that here on January 14th have ended, because that's hard to do.
Or you can reframe it and say, I just want to have 30 minutes of movement.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say, is exactly that. You read my mind. You can reframe it to, if the goal is just, I want to feel better in my body, I want to have more energy, then a goal that would be much more in alignment would be exactly that. Like, I'm going to have some sort of movement every day. And movement can be literally just getting up and, taking a stroll around your house outside. It doesn't have to be a big workout. And in a couple of weeks, if you have been doing that and just doing something that feels aligned with how you want to feel and show up, I promise you'll be feeling better.
That's why I stuck with Pilates all this time, because it feels so good.
To totally squirrel about Pilates, I just watched a couple of videos about the reformers. I've never tried it, and I really freaking want to. That looks
Well,
very
you should
fun.
come to Club Pilates with me because it is like getting a massage while you're working out. That is how
Sold.
awesome
So
it
that's
is.
all you had to say. Yes,
Yeah,
I
working
want
out
that.
laying down is like the best thing ever.
Not always. They got
I
the
know.
treks. You're doing push-ups in the air.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of harder stuff for sure.
I love it. Fun.
Well, I do think on that note, you got to think about not sacrificing the important stuff for the urgent. So it's easy to get really wrapped up in all the little day-to-day stuff and your email and who's bugging you. Like we've all been sitting here like, why is my phone ringing? And those tend to be the things that come up with, we're like, I got to deal with this right now. But I think it is important to schedule the time to do whatever it is that's on your list, whether it's a big goal or it's a little goal, if it's as little as movement, or if it's you want to start a YouTube channel or whatever it is, when are you going to do that? So figure out the time in your day where you can add that. And most of the time, if you've already got a 9 to 5 job or something, it's probably going to be either first thing in the morning or in the evening. So figure out when you can carve out that time. And don't forget that those are important, and it's very easy to get them put to the back of the line behind the urgent things. But even if it's just once a week, for me, I find first thing in the morning, if I just get up early, there's nobody else up in my house other than the dogs. Once you feed them, though, they're going to leave you alone and let you focus. You know, my email's not blowing up yet. My phone's not ringing, and I can really lock in and plan for whatever that big goal is or the little goal.
Did you listen to it? A Miracle Morning? Hal Elrod?
Yes.
I figured
Yes.
you had. I just learned about that, or it was brought back to my attention, but that was something I was going to learn because he does say that he was not a morning person, but now he gets up at 4:30, and I was like, oh God, I was having a hard time with 5.
Yeah, I think it depends on the people. Another book that I'm reading right now, one of the co-authors said, yep, he taught himself to be a morning person. The other one was like, I tried it and I hated it. I'm a night owl. I always have been. So my productive time is at 10 o'clock at night. My kids go to bed. My wife goes to bed. I'm going to be up at 10 to 11 anyway, staring at social media or watching a stupid show. So he's like, I realize that is my time when my brain is going crazy. So when I'm trying to distract it with TV and social media, why don't I let it run crazy on this book he was trying to write? And I was like, that's actually kind of brilliant.
I love that.
If you're a night person, be a night person. Embrace it.
Something that my therapist told me recently, I had set a couple of goals for myself, one of them being to be a morning person. And I have told myself forever, I'm not a morning person. I have said those words so many times to myself. And I mean, we've had episodes on, you have to, what you see is what you seek. If you say those words, you are confirming that is true. And my therapist said, you can't build a new life while protecting an old identity. And she basically was like, what are you afraid of? Like, what version of you are you afraid to let go right now? And I felt so called out because that's exactly what was happening is, I used to be such a night owl and be going out all the time. And I worked in restaurants, and it was like, that was a really big part of my identity, was sleeping in the mornings and staying up late at night. And it was almost this pride thing where I was like, yeah, my most productive hours are between 6 and 9 p.m. And that's when most people's brains are shut off. And I don't know what that was serving anymore, like what purpose that was serving, because I don't do any of those things anymore. And so it really wasn't serving a purpose, but I think it was just the story that I continued to tell myself over and over and over. So I think it is really interesting to ask yourself that question, like what version of myself am I afraid to let go right now?
And one other thing that I thought of that was impactful to me years ago is, if I could design my own best friend, what would she look like? And then become that person.
I like that.
I do too.
Sometimes I think that the answers that you seek are in the silence that you're avoiding. Like, I know I do that. I like to keep my brain busy because, man, when it has free reign,
Yeah, same. She
Katie
goes a
bar
little wild.
the door. So, but sometimes we have to let our brains do that a little bit. I think with social media and all the instant gratification things, we are used to having our brains be busy. But meditating, I think some people are scared of that. Am included in that. And I heard a different definition of that recently where it's just dedicated time where you're letting your brain wander. It doesn't mean you're not thinking about anything. It doesn't mean you're focused on just one specific thing. You're just kind of letting your brain go where it is without distractions and see where it wants to go, see what it comes up with. I mean, it might be good and it might not, but it might be worth finding out. Might be a fun little adventure.
I started it last year after going to this trainer that we have, and I'm still doing it, and I feel like it just grounds me every day, and it points me in a positive direction.
Well, there you go.
I read this book. It was a fictional book, but it was basically about a guy who was wrongfully convicted of murder. And something that was really fascinating was he talked about how when he went to prison, the hardest part was not having his cell phone. And he was like, bear with me. This is going to sound ridiculous because I'm in freaking prison right now. But he said, it's such a comfort blanket. We all, like, how many times do you just reach into your pocket to make sure your phone's still there, even if you're not pulling it out to do anything with it? And so he said all of a sudden he had all of this time that he just had to sit with his own thoughts. And it ended up basically being the best thing that ever happened to him because he really tapped into what mattered, and he ended up becoming a best-selling author and yada, yada. Again, fictional story, but it made a lot of sense to me because when I was a kid, we didn't have phones. That didn't exist yet. And we were so creative and we were constantly having to keep ourselves occupied. And I was journaling all the time and crafting all the time. And then cell phones were invented and all of that just went away. And I don't even remember the last time that I allowed myself to really just sit with just myself.
I did it for 18 days on the Colorado and the Grand Canyon. I
That's
don't think I
wild.
thought of it once, but I think I would freak out now because I Google or chat GPT everything.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that. And so this book I'm reading right now, and it's called Make Time, I think. Make Time. That is one of the things that both of the co-authors did is they simplified their smartphones. Like they took all of their apps off. And I was like, nope. I mean, immediately I was like, this book is stupid. Who can do that? But that was the point, was to make it a little bit harder to do some of those things. And yes, I agree. I use GPT for a lot of things right now. And, it's part of my work, but there's also a lot of shit that I really don't need. Mm-hmm. And, if you had to
delete that.
Yeah. If you had to log in every single time to get into your social media or into Amazon or, whatever it is, you probably buy less and you probably spend less time on social media.
Right.
My meditation app's on there. And
well, there you go.
That'd be hard.
But again, you can use that then you're not doing all the other ones. So I guess just simplifying the things. What's the clutter you can clear out of your life in general? Is it that? And not only on your phone, but what's in your calendar that needs to not be in your calendar? Is there something that's just not serving you anymore? Is it a club that you're a part of? Is it maybe it's even just a friend group that you do things with, and every time you're like, oh, this is just a drag, I don't want to do this. Give yourself permission to not do it. If it's not serving your purpose, you're probably not giving it your all to the point where you're adding value to it anyway. So give yourself permission to stop doing the things that are not serving you anymore, whatever that looks like.
Like Britt was saying earlier, I start my planning with what things do I need to get rid of? What tasks do I need to get rid of? What responsibilities can I give to somebody else? Because either I don't like them or they've taken up too much time with little return. Yeah. And so that's where I've deleted. It felt so good.
That's great. And I do think delegation is a huge one. Who can help you with something? I think, especially as women, we've talked about this before, we are very, very bad at asking for help for the most part. One of the things I'm doing this year is really focusing on letting my team do their things so that I do only the rainmaking things, only the things I'm best at, which is bringing loans in the door, consulting with clients, running the specific numbers, and let them do the documentation things. Let them do all the back end stuff. And it is very freeing and also very freaking terrifying for a couple of reasons. One, because it's my reputation that they still have to do everything right. But two, I really have to do the things that I say I'm going to do if I had time to do it. And so when you really make that happen, that means, man, I should be really able to crush it this year if all I have to do is that. So it's pressure, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think kind of to wrap everything up, I encourage you guys to ask yourselves these questions. What is your one thing for 2026 or for this month, this quarter, whatever timeline makes sense for your brain? What is the one thing that you can look back and be proud of if you accomplish? What do you need to delete in order to make space for that one thing? And how can you shift to feel more aligned every day in the things that really, truly matter to you?
And one final thing that we didn't mention earlier was to map it out, write it down, because if it doesn't exist
Yeah.
if you don't have a direction of where you're going.
I agree. And better yet, show it to somebody else. Give that added accountability. It makes it real if you tell somebody about it as well. And the one last question that I would say is, knowing what you know now, what advice would you have given yourself 12 months ago? Because chances are that's still exactly the advice that you need right now. So think about that. What advice would you give to yourself 1 year ago that would have made an impact in your life? And is it really what you need to hear for the coming up year?
I love it. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be posting episodes every Friday morning, so please tune in. If you loved this episode, share it with a friend that you think would also love it. And if there's anything that you want to hear from us in the future, let us know. We're all ears. We are here to serve. Here's to empowering each other, one story at a time.